Welcome back to the channel, everybody. In today's video, I want to go over the topic of how I hit a $100,000 net worth in my 20s. Now, if you guys keep up with my channel, you would know that in April of 2026, I hit $100,000. Now, it's something I've been aiming for a very long time. It's taken a lot of years of smart financial decisions and sacrifices to get there, but it is one of those things that I truly believe anyone watching this video can hit that $100,000 number. And once you hit $100,000 net worth, getting to 200, 300, 400,000 just becomes all that easier. Now, it's not easy, but I do believe everyone out there can do it, even if you're not making a lot of money. Because pretty much for me, I was making $19 an hour by the time I hit around an $80,000 to $90,000 net worth, and my new job has helped me get over that $100,000 mark. But regardless, even if I was stuck making 19 bucks an hour, I know I could still do it. So go ahead, sit back, relax, watch some of this quick scoping gameplay, and let's go ahead and talk about how I hit that $100,000 net worth. So I believe the first step for anyone when it comes to hitting this number is you need to first build your financial literacy. And before I really started making any moves with my money, I wanted to understand exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And I know this sounds basic, right? You're probably like yawning already, but I think this is where a lot of people mess up because they want to start investing before they actually understand investing. They want to start buying stocks before really understanding how it actually works. And because since they want quick gains, they usually look into crypto or options, side hustles, whatever it is, but they have no real grip on their own monthly expenses or really how to treat money once it starts coming in. And I'm not just saying that to, judge people because I get it. I was in that mindset too, right? Learning about money is not always exciting. And for the most part, a lot of people think they have a pretty good understanding of it. And it's not as, fun as watching someone talk online about how they made 10 grand in a week, right? But you actually have to learn what the boring stuff is, right? You have to learn what a budget is. You have to understand credit cards. You have to understand debt. You have to understand interest. And it's one of those things that when you are young, it's very easy to think money is all about what people can see, right? It's about the car you drive, the clothes you wear, the apartment you live in, the places you go, etc. But building net worth is literally the complete opposite of that. A lot of the stuff that actually builds wealth is completely invisible to the average person, right? The money you do not spend goes to your net worth. The account you keep adding money to goes to your net worth. The debt you avoid goes to your net worth. The emergency fund you build all goes to your net worth. And none of that really gives you kind of instant gratification in the moment, but it's what actually moves the needle forward. The next thing I did and highly recommend is you have to take your money seriously before you really start making a lot of it. And this was a huge kind of change in my finances. And what I've noticed is a lot of people wait until they make more money to care about money, right? They say things like, I'll start saving when I make more. I'll start investing when I get a better job. I'll start budgeting when I have money to budget with. And I understand why people say that because when you're not making a lot of money, it feels like there's really not much to manage or it's kind of a waste of your time. But the habits that you can build when you don't have a lot of money are usually the same habits that you're going to follow when you start making a lot more money. And if you make a little bit of money and spend it all, there's a good chance that when you make a lot of money, you're going to continue to spend it all. And the numbers are just going to get bigger, the expenses are going to get more expensive. So even when I wasn't making a lot of money, I still tried to treat like every dollar mattered. I paid attention to where my money was going. I looked into my spending. I thought about, is this actually worth it or not to buy it? And I didn't tell myself, oh, I'm making 19 bucks an hour, so I shouldn't care about my finances. The decisions you make in your early 20s can either give you a huge head start or it can put you in the hole that takes years to climb out of. And that doesn't mean obviously you have to be perfect with your finances. Even to this day, I'm not, right? I still spend money. I still bought things. I still made little financial mistakes here and there. But overall, even though I was making 19 bucks an hour, I took my finances very seriously. And I think that alone separated me from a lot of the people around me because when everyone else was acting like, money was something you worry about later, I was trying to get ahead pretty much every single day with my finances. So the next thing I did, even though I wasn't making a lot of money, like I said, I was working on my financial kind of literacy. I was taking my finances seriously. The next thing is I really focused on my savings rate. And at some point, you can read all the financial books you want. You can watch all the financial videos you want. But at some point, you're going to actually have to take action into growing your finances. And for me, I always recommend people, and the way I started is just start with a savings account. You don't have to complicate anything. You don't have to get into investing, into stocks, etc. Get some money in a savings account and work on building that up. Because if you can have a decent amount of money to fall back on, that you'll feel so much less stressed and anxious about your finances than a lot of the people around you. Now, granted, at the time I was living with my parents, so it made it very easy for me to have a really high savings rate. Now, I'm not saying you need, a 70% savings rate to be, financially successful, because it completely depends on your situation. Some people have rent they have to pay for, bills they have to pay for, etc. But at the end of the day, the first thing I'd recommend everyone focusing on is getting your savings going. And for me, the way it looked is literally every single time I got paid, the first thing I did was put money into my savings account. And if you don't have $1,000, $500, $300 to put into your savings account on a monthly basis, start simple. I always tell people you want to build the habit. So even if you can start putting $10, $20, $30 a day, a week, a month, whatever it might be, into your savings account, that right there is going to start that snowball. And then from there, once the habit builds, you're going to want to up that a little bit. You're going to get a lot better at saving. And then from there, you can really start to see that account grow. Now, the next thing I did is once I had, that decent nest egg of cash saved up, I had an emergency fund to fall back on, and I really felt confident in the cash I had. The next thing I wanted to do was actually look into investing, because at some point, only saving your money is good, but you need to get your money working for you and you need to get it growing. Because if you guys don't know this, only keeping your money in a savings account is actually going to lose value over time due to the rate of inflation. Now, you absolutely need to have a savings account and you need to have an emergency fund, but that's why typically, around 3 to 6 months of emergency expenses saved up is kind of the stopping point for most people, and then you focus on investing. The problem is when you first get into investing, when I first started getting into investing, every single person tells you to do something different. Someone's going to tell you to buy individual stocks. Someone's going to tell you to trade options. Someone's going to tell you, crypto's the only way. You got to buy Bitcoin. Another person's going to tell you only to real estate invest, only buy dividends, only day trade. And then on the flip side, a lot of people are going to tell you that the market's about to crash. So when I was trying to hit $100,000 net worth, the biggest and hardest part for me was not getting sidetracked by all these random videos you see online. And when you're new to investing, you see a lot of this online content and you see someone showing crazy returns, and then you're like, why would I put my money in the S&P 500 just to get 8% every single year? But over time, you realize that a lot of that content is just entertainment. Some of it's people selling something, some of it's people gambling and calling it a strategy. But overall, the main thing you want to do is you want to chase the boring, long-term ETF-based investments. That was the biggest thing for me. I started learning about the S&P 500. I started learning that you can just buy the S&P 500. I started learning that people were outperforming individual stock pickers by just holding the S&P 500. And I learned that by doing this, you can pretty much never look at your portfolio and just let time do the work. And that's the thing that really caught my attention, because I'm someone who doesn't really like to play around with my finances. I want to just invest in something and let it grow over time. So then this leads me into my main strategy that I still follow today. I chose to chase long-term investing over fast money. I looked at broad market funds, I looked at retirement accounts, and just consistent daily small contributions, right? I'm not trying to time anything perfectly. I'm not trying to find the next big stock that was going to explode and make me a millionaire, right? All I wanted was investing to be easy for me. Once I stopped looking at investing like a way to get rich quick, it became a lot less stressful, because it wasn't about waking up and checking the market every 5 minutes or opening my portfolio when I'm at dinner, right? It was just about buying long-term growth assets on a consistent basis. And I know it's boring, but boring is the whole point of investing, because by this point, I had already seen that the boring stuff was actually working towards growing my financial foundation, right? I did the boring stuff of learning about money. That was boring. Budgeting, saving, living below my means, investing. None of this is flashy, fun stuff, but it's the stuff that consistently grows your net worth over time. And all of it was working. Following the simple habits, the simple boring routine was really working for my finances with pretty much no stress involved. For a lot of people, that is the part you have to accept if you want to build wealth and you want to get to $100,000 net worth in your 20s. A lot of the things that work do not feel exciting while you're doing them. You kind of just have to put your head down, make the sacrifices, and stay consistent, and you're going to see the payoff over years. Now, the next thing that really helped me get to this number is about 4 months ago, I got a new job. And like I said, before I got this new job, I was already around, an $80,000 to $90,000 net worth. And this new job gave me about a 70% raise and really helped me get over that kind of level of 100,000. Now, I know the job market is really difficult right now, so I'm not going to tell you guys to go out there and get a new job, because it's not that easy. But one thing that can come with getting a new job is lifestyle inflation, and avoiding this at all costs will really help you grow your finances, because most people will get a raise and then instantly they think, okay, I need a nicer car, or they need to move in a more expensive place, or you need to eat out more, buy more clothes, or upgrade things. And from the outside, a lot of people look at that and they think, okay, you're doing better, right? But your net worth's not really moving in the right direction. So for me, the gap between what I made and what I was spending was everything I cared about, right? That gap is what allowed me to save money, allowed me to invest and give me options. So as my income grew, I tried not to let my lifestyle grow at the same speed. And pretty much the last thing I did was I just kept rinsing and repeating everything I just told you guys, right? I stuck to my boring plan. This has been the plan I've been following for pretty much the past 4 years, and eventually everything is going to start moving in the right direction. And that's really the whole point, right? You're never going to hit $100,000 in one big move. It's a bunch of these small financial decisions and habits repeated for a very long amount of time, right? It was choosing not to spend money when I easily could have, right? It was choosing to learn about my finances instead of just kind of watching what someone's doing on YouTube and trying to copy it, right? It was choosing long-term investing instead of chasing quick money, and all of those things. And honestly, that's probably the hardest part. For a while, it kind of feels like nothing's really working, right? You save money, but it doesn't really feel like enough, or start investing money, but you don't really see any of the growth. But then, for example, like now, when I look back on my 4-year progress, I've made insane progress over time. So those are all the things that I did to reach $100,000 net worth. So lastly, if someone asked me, right, they were starting from zero and they wanted to build their first $100,000 net worth, I would tell them to keep it as simple as possible. Learn how money works, actually look at your income and expenses, build some cash, on hand so you're not consistently stressed, avoid stupid high interest debt, keep your fixed expenses low, save as much money as you realistically can. Then once you have about 3 to 6 months, learn how investing works before throwing money at random things. Be careful who you listen to online. That's a big one. Look for ways to increase your income. And when you start making more money, do not let your lifestyle eat away all of that progress. Because for a lot of people, that first $100,000 is not about the money realistically. It's proving to yourself that you can actually make a plan, stick to it, and do the right things to actually let you achieve that goal. So let me know if you guys are currently working on your journey to reaching $100,000 net worth and what you guys are struggling with the most. I would really love to hear it in the comments down below. But look, at the end of the day, stay disciplined. Keep your finances simple, stick to a good, strong, long-term plan, and your net worth is really going to start going in the right direction. So as always, I appreciate you guys for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.